Good morning. I am higher vibrations, and so are you. And oh boy, have we got a lot to talk about today. A lot of energy. I know everyone's ascension symptoms are probably going all kinds of haywire. We got today's the new moon, by the way. So it's in
Ah,
the new moon in Pisces, and new cycle beginning. So there's a lot of new energy, a lot of new stuff. I can't wait to just jump right into it with consciously Erin Brown. She is somebody that I always watch every day, every morning. That's like how I wake up, and getting the Schumann report and finding that I had exact experience that she did has always been something that's been very validating for me. So I always love to talk about all of those types of things and more. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today, Erin.
hello. Thank you so much. I appreciate your invitation to be here. Thank you.
Of course, anytime. I love talking with you. You're fun. There's, hey, we were just talking about the Schumann. We ought to bring that up because I bet a lot of people right now are feeling that. So you had just
Yeah.
posted something in your afternoon update. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, it was something I don't know that I've experienced many times before. So I'm going about my day. I'm in the middle of moving, so I'm moving boxes and I was packing stuff and doing laundry. And I just picked up my phone and thought I would look at the Schumann. I rarely do this. It's not something I think about during the day. It's not something I keep track of during the day. But I look at it, and this very odd pattern that we're seeing that's on there now comes up. And I felt like there was the best way to describe it was like a short circuit in my brain and my body. Like everything just short circuited for a second. And when it did, it's really hard to convey how it felt because I know all this happened in like a split second, but it feels like it took longer, right?
Yeah.
So in that moment, I had this image of the human body, like an anatomical drawing, and it had this sort of glow inside of it, as if you picture bioplankton, the stuff that glows in the ocean. It
Hmm.
kind of was like that. And then all of a sudden it got really, really bright. And I heard the words activation. And also in that moment, I understood that this was happening across humanity. This wasn't just me. This wasn't just selected people. This wasn't only awakened people. I want to be clear about this. This is being offered to all of humanity, but that you have to choose this, right? That you have to allow and choose this. And I also understood in that moment that what that means to allow and choose is simply that you're living your life consciously. That's the choice that you're making to accept this energy into your system. So it's not something you have to chase after. It's not something you have to do. I also understood in that moment that the way my body and mind felt was related simply to me because it was like I knew all this all at the same time. It sounds so strange, but this is how it was. Like it's just I was doing so many different things. If I hadn't gotten something like that, I would have, yeah, there it is. If I hadn't had that kind of physical experience, I would have not paid attention. I would have just swiped right past it and said, "Oh, I'll look at it later." But yeah, so we're looking at
Right.
this sort of three lined pattern on the graph
Right
here.
here.
There's red release. Nope, over
Yes, right
towards
here.
there you go. There's the red release underneath with the white coming in over top as if overlaying this code into this release system, right?
Mhm.
Um, so and we already know that the lines in the background, the weird pattern that we see back there, this has been shown to me to be the collapsing in or merging of lower density timelines. It's like stuff coming together. And the image that was given to me for that was if you picture a department store with all these rows of lights and you've got people sort of meandering around the store's trying to close. If they start turning the lights off from the back forward, people will
Yeah.
start moving to the forward, right? And this is the image that they were showing me with this, that there is this collapsing in of these lower density timelines. So
Right.
if people are feeling weird, if you're feeling sort of whooshy or whatever today, especially this afternoon, listen, something's going on. I didn't even know today was a new moon, so that's interesting to note. I did
Yeah.
realize when you said that though that this is the last new moon of this lunar year because Aries is the next sign, and that's the beginning of the new lunar year, right? So
Yeah.
if you want to look at it from a broader perspective, maybe we're getting this activation in our bodies for the beginning of this new lunar year, which also coincidentally lines up with Chris Bledsoe's prophecy, all of this stuff, right? All kind of coming together. It's interesting because I didn't even put all that together until just now when I'm talking to you. Like, then I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. I see it. This is how
Will
it
you
works sometimes,
elaborate what the
friend.
Chris Bloodstone's prophecy is? What's Chris? I don't know that. At least
Oh,
not the name of
goodness.
it.
Yeah. So Chris Bledsoe, he wrote a book called UFO of God. I highly recommend that you read it. It's not long at all. He's a guy, I forget what state he's from, but back, and I might get the years wrong, so please don't kill me on this, but it was years ago. So I'm going to say back in the 80s, he was really ill. I think he had Crohn's disease really bad. His family was not doing well financially. He owned a business that was going under. All these bad things were happening to him. And he took his son and several friends fishing. And during this time, while everybody was fishing, Chris walked away from them, and I don't remember the reason. And he had an encounter. And this being appeared to him, and she called herself the lady. And she told him, give or take the right words, that when the star of Regulus appears red on the horizon in the
Oh,
gaze of the
yes.
Sphinx, that humanity will receive a new knowledge, right? So there's all this stuff going on in the world. And I just want to point out, I'm not someone who wants to talk about fear. I'm really not. But listen, we're in the middle of this political action in Iran that's not going the way that I think our president expected it to go, right? And sometimes rash decisions get made, and we're coming up to Easter. And what do extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings interfere the most with? Nuclear weapons, right?
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if this is all building to a point like this where they must disclose themselves to stop something bigger from
Right.
going on. Do you see what I'm saying? And that lines up with Chris Bledsoe. It lines up with everything that's going on here. I mean, I don't like to be a person who talks about negative stuff. I'm not. But if you step back and look at an overall pattern, it's a lot of overlapping lines. I don't think that we're going to die in a nuclear war. I don't think anything like that is going to happen. But I do think that there's some sort of understanding about humanity and humanity's place in the universe that is coming forward very quickly. And the only things that I can think of that would be startling enough to get the attention of the entire planet, because this is not just a North America thing, this is an entire planet thing, would have to transcend different ideals, different beliefs, different languages, all of that. It would have to be bigger than all of that. And I cannot think of anything bigger than all of that, than the disclosure of some sort of contact from an extraterrestrial or interdimensional being in a way that is undeniable, not somebody with a
Right.
shaky iPhone going, oh my God, look at that, but like an undeniable, we are in your space
Yeah.
type of thing.
The
You know
the
what I mean?
actual revelation, not what
Exactly.
the fear-soaked version that a lot of the
Exactly.
other
None
creators.
of this smoke and mirrors, none of this whatever. A clear with your own eyeballs. Here it is. Take a look. That
Yeah.
would be a whole dawning of information. That would be a new age for humanity, right? Because now we would move into an age where we would understand more about ourselves and our place in the universe. It would
Right.
be a new age as far as technology, because if they can get here, they probably got some tech we don't got, right? I mean, it would be several new ages in one, you know? Maybe it's
Yeah.
the end of the age of war. Like there's all these potentials that are sort of wrapped up in this feeling that's there. I don't know what it is. I don't know that it's aliens. But I mean, I love aliens, right? Beam me up.
Yeah.
Mhm. But I don't know that that's what it is. But there's something for sure. Something for sure coming around.
I'm all in, like there's so much stuff that I have had happen that have included beings of a variety of sort that I understand a lot more is down than up, which is really. Have you heard about Gerald the dolphin, by the way?
I have. And did you
Yeah.
see that Megan from Solar Glow Meditations asked her dowsing rods?
What was that? Oh,
Do
yes,
you
I
know
did
who
see that.
she asked, and they said it was true.
Yeah, I did see that. And that um they had provided an air bubble over his head, and there was an intention to bring, or the intention was to bring attention to it. And I just find this whole thing to be super fascinating. Like but some of you don't do Facebook, but where it all came together for me was one of those things where I didn't search anything out, but I saw clip after clip after clip in different places. And so I took a screen recording and shared it, not to remove anyone's, like, I made sure you could see who the content creator was on it, but to show you that's how it arrived in my world, and they're like saying, and this was right after I had looked up the importance of dolphin, the totem of dolphin, and it
Yeah.
reminds us how to breathe and use our voice chakra and the song. And that's where Archangel Sandalphon comes in with that teal. And he's teal because of the ocean's color is teal, and like it's all this
Yes.
code all at the same time.
And and I saw a clip shortly after I saw the one with Megan doing her dowsing rods. I saw a clip of Bashar, and someone had asked Bashar about dolphins, not about this instance, and this was probably a few years ago, but they had asked about dolphins, and he had said, yes, dolphins are very connected to the Sirian star system, that they
Yep.
communicate with Sirians all the time, and that Sirians I'm paraphrasing, and that Syrians could use them also for communication. So then I started thinking, well, what if the only way that his mind was able to perceive these Syrians without totally losing it was to picture it as a dolphin, or for them to take the shape as a dolphin, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to get into it, you can really go down that road. I think there's something there. I find it irresponsible to dismiss him,
Yeah.
especially considering that there was no drugs in his system, no alcohol in his system. He is an underwater engineer. Hello, that's his job. So, I mean,
Yeah.
something happened. We have to
Oh
be
yeah.
realistic. Something happened, you
Oh
know?
yeah. In fact, we should.
And I think
So,
they said he had some kind of foam in his lungs, like, see, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I don't know where I heard that, but something like that.
huh? Very interesting. So I was thinking, like, I just jumped into the excited part. So what happened is,
What had happened was
yeah, there's this dolphin that is called Gerald, and apparently that's very similar to the translation of the clickings and the rollings that the dolphin will do to make that sound. Anyhow, there's uh this engineer, this guy actually is the one that figured out that everybody's in the animal kingdom, all of their sounds, their calls, all sound the same. If you change the frequency, if you I don't remember the right word when it comes to, like, the sound
Mhm.
things that you do, but if you change it, speeding it up, slowing it down, and then bringing it down to a lower, measuring a whale call against the call of a bird, it's the same sound. Every different animal, he went around and did this for all the different animals, and he showed that the way that the dolphins speak is also, so they're learning how dolphins are speaking, and they're discovering that everyone in this world except for us are speaking the same language, all of them. And so they're having this inner communication going on. Anyway, he was in the water, and dolphin showed up and took him under, like he just, like, kidnapped him. And then there's this other story that's going out there that I don't know if it's true or not, but it's very fascinating. That supposedly now Gerald the dolphin is, like, on the run through the rivers of America. I think that was must be a joke, but it came
Yeah, I
up.
don't know about that one.
Yeah,
I
me
don't
too.
know about
But
that one, but
because it felt
but
like the O.J. Simpson white Dodge or whatever
right.
the vehicle.
It was the Bronco. It was the Bronco.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember when that happened, so,
Yeah, me too. I think they let us out of class to find out whether or not he was innocent.
Yeah, I was in college when that happened.
Awesome. That's so fun. So, this is connecting something that's very important to me in what you were saying as well, is that for me, most of my being related experiences are individuals who spend most of their time actually going down rather than going up. The ocean people, and they have spaceships and they do all the same, they activate their Merkaba and they fly around in like orb of light. They are beings. There's whole civilizations down there. When we do meditations and go down, the world is bigger than it is if you go up. There's something
Oh,
about that.
no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah. So who's to say that Gerald didn't bring him to ETs is what I
Well,
was
that's what
saying.
I'm saying. I'm like, let's not discount this guy. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on, but I think it's irresponsible to completely dismiss his story. Oh, he's crazy. Well, they said a lot of people were crazy. The guy who invented the microscope, they told him he was crazy too, because he was trying to describe what he was seeing under the microscope. And they're like, you're making it up. There's no such
Right.
thing as little monsters inside of people. Like you
Yeah.
can't
Right.
dismiss everything. You got to try to keep an open mind. This world is made up of so much that we cannot perceive. And until you have a framework for understanding, you can't perceive it. It's physically impossible, right? So, to give you an example, the color blue, right? I watched this whole history lecture where this professor was talking about how the color blue throughout history, written history, as far back as they can go, has never been mentioned until Egypt. And why is it start suddenly mentioned in Egypt? Because Egypt created that beautiful blue pigment that everybody wanted. So now
Yeah.
that knowledge, that construct for what blue looks like is in the atmosphere. And now all of a sudden you can find reference to blue everywhere. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that the color blue did not exist before then. It just means there was no framework. There was no word. There was no understanding of this is what this is. Right.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful in assuming that we know what's going on. Maybe we just don't have the framework for it. Maybe we're waiting for some greater understanding to kind of give us a little bit of clarity. And it's our open-mindedness that's going to lead us in that direction.
Right. I mean, and the magic of blue, you take it to another level. Did you know that all things in nature, like birds and things that and butterflies that look blue, is actually a trick of the eye? The way
No, I
that
did
they
not.
Yeah, blue was a frequency. It's weird. It's really fascinating. And that's why sometimes, like, you'll see, like, for instance, something like a raven. It'll look blue and black and blue again. It's got to do with the way that the feathers on a microscopic level line up and cheat the eye to think that it's blue when it's literally not blue.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very
I-
interesting. Nature is very clever. Nature is very clever.
Yeah. There's this is a rabbit hole I jumped down a while back because it was like the invisible ink for spiritual stuff. Like those with the eyes to see would see, and like how many people in the world have, if they have any color blindness, blue is first affected, and it's like I wonder how long we really could see blue. You know,
No telling.
I
There's no
just like that.
telling. And there's something that occurred to me along the same lines as getting into deep thoughts. I know this is going to sound very unrelated to what you were just talking about, but I'm going along the line of evolution of humanity and the earth and all this stuff, right? So there's a new documentary out on Netflix about the dinosaurs. And I am such a nerd that I couldn't wait to watch it. So I watched this documentary. And it goes through several different ages of the earth, right? And it starts with the giant reptiles, and it works its way up till the asteroid that kills the dinosaur. And what I realized as I'm watching this is there is such a rhythm to this planet of complete destruction and starting over, and things come back like next level, right? So you had reptiles, then you had complete destruction, and then the next level of reptiles started to emerge. Birds started to show up, all this stuff. Then a complete destruction, and then the next level, and this brought with it like dinosaurs, right? The very early dinosaurs, and then complete destruction, and then you had the giant dinosaurs that started to come out. You see what I'm saying? Like each time the earth renewed itself, it brought with it, for lack of a better term, bigger and better aspects of itself, as if its frequency was shifting each time through each of those giant destructions. The frequency was shedding or cracking open and allowing itself to grow into the next thing. And then I'm capable of supporting this. And then I get this big, and then I'm capable of supporting this. And now the earth is to the point where it's capable of supporting humanity. But Earth,
Yeah.
as we all are aware, is going through a major upgrade, a major change. The continents are shifting. When you look at Africa, it's splitting. A new ocean is forming over there. We have volcanoes going off all over the place. The Earth itself is changing its shape. So it makes me wonder what comes next. Is it the hybrids that we hear about? Right? Is it
Mhm.
like, what is it? What is it that comes next? Because if you look at the pattern of the earth itself, that's what it looks like is happening. I don't think there's going to be an extinction, so to speak. I think that humanity will be okay to some level, right? Like I think there's going to be a lot of adjustment, right? It's going to be bumpy for a hot second, but we'll figure it out. We're resilient. But it makes me wonder what the next evolution is for us, what the next evolution is for the planet itself. Like all of these things, like these are the kind of weird thoughts I sit around and have when I can't sleep at 3 a.m., you know.
Well, and I love it because I'm the same. There's actually a word for that. It's called a root race. So there's 7 generations, and the seventh of the seven becomes the first of the next. And so,
Oh,
and we're the
interesting.
seven of the seven.
Very interesting. I did not know
Yeah.
that.
So those who were descendants, or those that were refugees of what we know as Atlantis or Lemuria, depending on who you're talking to, they became the ancient Egyptians. And then from that point, those that were the first ancient Egyptians, not to say that they built what they were living at, but those that went and occupied that space, then they seven of the root races or whatever later was us. And so particularly, it's very fascinating. People have precisely lined it up with Gen X is the last of the old race, and the next
That doesn't
generation
surprise
and
me.
on, right?
That doesn't surprise me at all. I've been saying for a while that if you look at the generations, I feel like you can clearly see the unfolding of something new that arrives with the alpha, right? Like if you start with
Yeah.
Generation X, we're kind of the forgotten generation, right? Nobody, we were the first kids that had latchkey. We were the first kids with two parents, typically the first kids with two parents working outside of the home for most things. I'm not trying to assume. I'm just saying for most people in North America, this is what it was like. Generation
Mhm.
X are the first generation that grew up taking care of themselves for the most part.
Yeah.
We didn't have technology when we were young, and got it when we were older, right? So we learned it differently than kids now, right? All of this. So then we have the next generation. This is the millennials. The millennials are the first generation with the language of mental health, because Gen X went through so much crap, right? We had to get therapy. And we said, well, our kids aren't going through this. So then you have the millennials coming forward. And because Gen X experienced the contrast that they did, the language of mental health became pervasive in millennials. They started to seek therapy on their own. They started to talk about safe spaces. They started saying no to different things. And a lot of curmudgeony old people will go, these young people, no, don't say that. You wish you would have said no when your creepy uncle tried to give you a hug. Okay. Listen,
Yeah.
they just understand. They just understand their boundaries, right? So then these millennials are starting to stir things up because they are aware. They're aware that there's stuff going on. They're aware that autism is not a dis-ease. They're aware that ADHD is not a detriment. And they're starting to change the language of how we utilize these things, right? So then they have the next generation, right? They have what's next? The Zoomers, right?
Yeah.
Right? Zoomers are next. Millennials
I'm
were the
pretty
Y, and
sure.
then the Zoomers. Yeah. So then we have the
Yeah.
Zoomers. The Zoomers are the technologically savvy generation. They have had tech in their hand from the day they were born, with Miss Rachel saying good morning to them every day and
Yeah.
everything like that. These are the kids that grew up with an iPad and can program your phone in 30 seconds flat when you don't know how to even open the box, right? Like, these are the kids.
Before
They're
they
on
can
it. They're
crawl.
on it. They're on it. And these are the ones who are going to drive innovation. They're going to drive technology. They're going to drive change and innovation. They're tired. They're tired of the way people react. They're tired of the old systems. These are the kids who are coming out of college going, I don't want to do traditional work. I want to do what I love. These are the kids that are stirring it up, right? So then that leads us to alpha. And these kids are quite literally being born different. I don't have like medical proof to give you, but I am telling you from my experience in the healthcare field, these kids are different. They are different on different levels, right? They are coming in unable to tolerate lights and sounds that are bright and neon and all the loud stuff, right? You see the kids walking around with headphones. They are unable to tolerate this. Their system is softer than this. They're also remembering more of past life connections. They're remembering more about communications with spirits. Their veil is either non existent or barely there. Right.
Yeah.
And what's happening is because the generations before them, X and millennials, have done a good job, the parents of these new alphas, instead of discouraging, are encouraging this. They're saying, yes, bring this forward. Let's talk about it. I'm excited. And so we are ushering quite literally into the next generation. Alpha is the reset. Alpha generation is the generation that comes forward to change everything. But it took every generation leading up to that to get us to that point. But for me, like when I look, and of course, obviously there are exceptions, quite obviously there are exceptions. But for me, when I look back, when I step back and take a bird's eye view, it is so obvious to me how this has unfolded for
Yeah.
decades. This has been unfolding decade after decade. The contrast that we've had driving change, because without contrast, there's no change. If you were completely happy in your life, why would you change it? Right? Like, there would be zero
Yeah.
desire. So the different
Right.
contrasts that are coming forward are requiring us to change. And for me, to the point of this person on the screen, Archangel Raphael, I think contact with beings of other dimensions, other whatevers outside of humanity is the next leap, is the next big push that helps bring us into fully into this space. I wish I knew what that looked like. I wish I knew when it is. I feel like I feel it in my bones that it'll be sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah. 100%. In fact, it's already
Sorry, I
started.
got in my channel there for a second. Sorry.
Did I come off your channel? I'm sorry.
No, you didn't cut it off. I came out of it. I was fine. So that's what it looks like for me when I go into a channel. Is I get very passionate.
Yeah.
I can hear what I'm saying, and I'm not necessarily in full control of what I'm saying. And then it's like the rest of me catches up all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, sorry, kind of one of
Got it.
those things.
I'm the same. That's how. Only the difference for me is maybe I don't know. I'm curious. For me, I've noticed this since it first happened when I was 12. When I really noticed it happening, I was on an airplane by myself with a bunch of adults that I didn't know, and I said all this stuff apparently. And the thing is I'll go through a semi amnesia. I won't remember most of what was said. Like I'll see
Yeah.
I'll remember the images that they were having move through me, but it's just like it goes through so fast that if you try to grab anything, you're gonna get drugged down. Like remember those playground things that the wheel that would spin. If you grabbed it standing still, you're gonna, that's what it feels like.
Yes, yes, yes. The best way I explain it to people is if you ever watch a dubbed movie and the person's mouth is moving and you're catching up, you're like, okay, I got it. Like my higher self is the mouth that's moving 1,000 miles an hour. You can hear it, right? I can hear it too, but it's going slower for me. So then it's
Yeah.
like I finally catch all the way up and I'm like, here's me. I'm here. I'm here right now. Okay. That's
Yeah.
what it's the
Yeah.
weirdest feeling. I got to tell you guys, I think people channel way more often than they think they do. I think we talk ourselves out of it. And I think it
Yeah.
happens a lot in natural conversations. If you're trying to make it happen, it's going to be difficult because then you're coming from a place of lack, right? If you're trying to force something to happen, you only do that because you think you can't do it, right? You're trying to force it to happen. If you allow it to naturally evolve, then it becomes easier and easier and easier, and it just starts happening on its own, which can be fun and also sometimes annoying because if you're in the middle of a conversation and you start, if I'm in the middle of a conversation with somebody, like at like this happened. This is a true story. I was at a birthday party for an adult, for a friend, and I'm standing there and I start talking to this person that I barely know. And he asked me something, and I don't even remember what the question was. I guarantee you had nothing to do with spirits, right? He probably asked me some random, hey, what's your sign kind of thing.
Right.
And the next thing I know, I hear myself saying, yeah, so if you consider it, it really does all work out. And I'm looking at him, and the look on this man's face, he was like, yeah, uh-huh. All right. I'm gonna I'm gonna go. Right. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and go. Like so it happens in inopportune moments. The
Mhm.
more that I trust it, the less often that happens. And the more I'm able to sort of relax into it. Right.
Yeah.
If I'm very wound up, if I'm like paying attention to 100 different things, I cannot allow it to happen. I'm too tight. My energy's too
Yeah.
tight. In order
Yeah.
for it to come through, typically I have to be pretty relaxed. And, that doesn't usually happen in social situations for me, but, sometimes it does.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm back and forth with that social thing too. Though I've same and in fact, um, when you don't have to explain it, that really helps. So like, uh, what I mean by that is you can tell inside yourself if it doesn't feel very good, you're not going to lean into it, and so you don't have to worry about what's channeling through you when, especially when you're first getting the idea of it. It's just information. It's not anyone. No one's possessing you, and
Right.
so you can, if it feels icky, we just naturally we recoil, and if it doesn't, we lean into it, right? And then that can just flow, and you don't have to worry about. This is where I didn't have a hang up for it because I didn't need to know the person's name. I don't care what someone's name is unless they care.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
just because
I
I don't
I
care what
do
my
not.
name is.
Yeah, I've been shown. So I talk a lot about the man with the white beard, and I've had so many people want me to ask, what's his name? What's his name? What's his name? It has been made abundantly clear to me by him that naming something is a very human thing, and he doesn't feel the need to give me a name. They're like, why? I always feels like he's going, why do you need that? Like, you
Yeah.
recognize my energy. I'm an energetic being. You don't need to name me. And so he's never, ever, ever given me a name. He
Mm.
appears to me visually sort of like Socrates. But the reason that he appears to me like that is not because he's Socrates, but because I associate that image with knowledge, with
Yeah.
learning, and with understanding. So he appears to me in a way that gets my attention. I need to learn this. I'm learning something. It has nothing at all to do with whatever his true appearance is. Energy is just energy. It's just waves moving at different speeds. It only starts to clump up when it gets slow enough to do that. So,
Yeah.
you kind of have to be careful that we're not projecting our human tendencies onto something that is not human.
Yeah, definitely. And I get the same. It's and so you'll feel the energy moving through you. It actually usually feels like some kind of a healing that happens when we're channeling too. And
Oh,
this is the
yeah.
part that I find the most consistent too, is that everybody has this happen and they don't always know that, but it's when you're, especially when you're talking to someone else. I know that it's harder to do for yourself, or I realize that's what's happening though. How many times have y'all been in a conversation with your best friend and all of a sudden this deep profound wisdom comes flowing out of you, and it's
All the time.
eloquent, sounds like poetry, you're like, dang, I'm pretty awesome,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, because you know
that's
what? Again, it goes back to the idea of being relaxed. If you're with a good friend, someone you trust, someone you feel safe with, it makes it conducive for that type of thing to happen. My best friend Rachel tells me all the time. She's always like, I feel like I should be paying you for therapy. Like, we hang out and I'm just all this stuff comes out. Like, I'm not trying to do it. It's just how my energy relaxes, and then that frequency is able to sort of flow into the state that we are. Otherwise, to me, it's always been shown your energy is like this, right? It's a lattice work of energy. And as if you are in a situation where you're stressed out, where you've got split focus and all this, it's very tight like this, right?
Mhm.
But as you relax, so does your energy, and it becomes more loose like this. So those finer frequencies, those higher frequencies that are moving faster but are smaller, can fit in those sort of gaps that you've created in the relaxation of your energy overall, you know? So that's why meditation is so important. Meditation, the whole goal of meditation is to train your energy to relax so that what you are receiving all day long as energy can be more of an information exchange. Just like a plant and photosynthesis, you are just a giant plant radio walking around, right?
Yeah.
Plants receive sunlight, they go through photosynthesis, they turn it into sugar. Humans receive all kinds of energetic stimulation all day long. You go through meditation, it turns into information. Same thing, same process. You just have to allow yourself to calm down enough to let it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's that feminine energy, and most of us, whether we're male or female in form, have been operating in this masculine energy. Like, a lot of us have used the words like trauma response, because there's like this fierce independence, this way that we've been taught. A lot of it does go back again to the generation conversation, where there was a period of hyper independence during that latchkey kid period, right? And it
Right.
still kind of echoed itself out a little bit. So there's this over assistance with children. I have actually an 11-year-old, so I 100% can validate a lot of the points you made about that alpha generation, by the way. She's one of those, and I was always told I wasn't gonna be able to be pregnant, so I didn't expect her. Like, she was a miraculous, like this unexpected gift when I was 35. I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm a mama now. And she has been, me having her around really validated me too, because before she had the words to tell me, I saw her see spirits that I was seeing. Because there's always
Oh,
that part of
yeah.
you, you're like, am I just crazy? Am I just, like, have I built up this okay world for me to be in this crazy space? And then you
Right.
have
But
validating
but I have
voice.
a quick question. I want to ask about the story real quick. You had her when you were 35?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was your spiritual awakening?
Wow. Well, the first one was when I was 4, when I had a near-death experience, but I put snooze really hard in, like,
Right.
my teens, and, like, I was in a real dense world. So I would say I one of the ones that really have lent to everything was right before I got pregnant
Okay.
and
So
during the
can we just
pregnancy
point
period.
out for a second something here?
Mhm.
If she's coming forward carrying this new frequency, she had to wait. She had to wait
Yeah.
until you reached that next level of frequency so that you could enable her to be the frequency that she is, rather than shut it down like other generations have. Like, for me,
Yeah.
that, like, as soon as you said that, like all of my energy is like, oh my God, pay attention. Like, this is a very purposefully planned, very intentional, I'm waiting on you, lady, kind of thing, right? Like, This is very much the feeling I have with this. Like she had to wait, because if she had come forward before, being part of this generation that's ushering in whatever comes next, and you were not in the space that you needed to be in, it would have not looked the same. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, you encourage her, you talk to her about it, you do all this stuff when you could have been like, it wouldn't have worked any other way.
Oh yeah. And the way I raised her would be completely different. In fact, I was still enough on the fence about vaccines when she was born that I almost got guilted into it, feared into it. Like
Mm.
almost. Because that's what the nurses would say. You want her to die? Like that was what they say every time I did the checkup. And just like, and I didn't want her to die, but, and however, if she was born a year before, I probably would have done it. Like I was that on the fence about it. And I'm glad. I'm so glad that she chose to come when she did.
Well, it
Yeah.
seems very, very aligned for what the energy needed to be, you
Yeah.
know?
Thank you for saying that. You're right. Yeah, that was a profound 2012. Oh my goodness. That was so weird. That for everybody, right? That was the beginning of us moving back out of this Kali Yuga cycle. It takes a long time to pull from something like that dense, right?
So I don't remember what was going on in 2012. My awakening wasn't until 2020. So back in 2012, I was still very much in the hustle, in the grind, in professional like nursing. Like I was very,
Yeah.
so anything that was going on, like I couldn't tell you. Genuinely couldn't tell you, because I was not paying attention. I was very like in my own world.
Yeah,
So I've
that's
had a
fair.
couple people say, "Do you remember when this happened?" And I'm like, "No, nope." But I also think part of that too is the version that I am today and the version I was then are so drastically different that I don't think I really resonate with a lot of the stuff that happened back then. Like, not saying it didn't happen. I'm not trying to pretend my past isn't my past. But when I try to remember it, I cannot, like I physically cannot remember it. It's like it's a mismatch of frequency, and the effort it takes for me to really pull up a memory then makes me question, am I inventing something because I want to remember it, or am I
Yeah.
actually remembering it? You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
there's big, I would say everything, and there's, of course, it's not like everything is blank. Like I remember a lot of stuff, but I don't remember a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I would say everything from before my awakening until from when I was born until my awakening was is fuzzy at best, right?
Yeah.
And big chunks of it totally missing. My husband was saying something the other day, it was hilarious. We were driving somewhere and he was talking about, before we got married, we went on a trip with some friends to DC, right? And he was like, "Remember when we went to DC and we did this and we did this and we," and I'm looking at him like, I don't think that was me. And he's like, "No, it was definitely you." I go, "Babe, I think that was a different girlfriend." He's like, "No, it was you. You don't remember?" I'm like, I have zero memory of ever doing that. And we were there for like a week. How do I not have any, you know what I mean? So I think there's, when you start moving beyond the older versions of yourself, at some point you kind of lose that thin connection, and it can be really hard to reconnect that. And I think
Yeah.
for a lot of people, we get gaslit into thinking, "Oh, you're pretending your past didn't happen, or you're ignoring this." And no, friend, I'm genuinely not. I'm telling you, that was not this me. And
Yeah.
you're going to have to get on board with that, you know? Like, I'm not trying to not take accountability for stuff, but you can't hold it against me. If I've already moved past that and grown and apologized and done whatever I needed to do, you're going to have to let it go. It's a different kind of me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. In fact, you just demonstrated just in those words what is the solution to what a lot of people are finding themselves ascending through their chakras. And as a population or as a species, really, we've been for a long time spending a lot of our time below the heart chakra in the solar plexus. And just lately, over the past decade or more, people have graduated into their heart, into their throat, and beyond. And what blocks that flow is requiring yourself to hold that guilt. Guilt blocks the solar plexus. Like feeling that guilt. Shame is the one below it. That's the sacred, but that the guilt of what you're talking about, thinking that you have to be sorry and be giving penance for the rest of your life over being ignorant. Ignorant means lack of knowledge. You didn't have the
Right.
information, were properly conditioned and indoctrinated.
Right. You are a product of your environment, right? We have to be realistic about that. Like it's very rare that there's anyone that grows up outside of the system. I mean, obviously, there are people who are in communes and people who, and I can only speak from my lens as a person in North America. Let's just be clear. But in the area that I am familiar with, most people grow up in the same sort of space where the bigger, better, faster, who has the highest grades, who can run the fastest, who performs the best, who's prettiest, who's funniest. It's never who contributes this, who contributes that. Individuality gets squashed in
Right.
favor of trying to fit in so that you don't feel ostracized, right? Because humans are pack animals. Humans are pack animals. So we want to fit in, especially as teenagers. So that light inside of us gets sort of smashed for a hot minute.
Yeah, definitely.
You
And
know,
just, I think all of us do it. It's not, I
every
did.
single one.
I was in the world of social work. I was a like I was a behavioralist. That's what I wanted to do and be. And I didn't realize until I was already out that what had been happening in the culture of the um, like intellectual disability group of individuals that had been adults and graduated out of their family's home situation, and just the different eugenics that was happening, not realizing it was occurring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's hard to swallow and know that was something that I was actively engaged in, not even knowing. Here, take your pills. Let's take you
Right.
to another doctor. Oh, you need more pills. And why is
Yeah.
it that everybody with an intellectual disability have a lifespan of like until about 45 or 50, and everybody just accepted it? I didn't even
Right.
put that together, but
Yeah. Coming from medicine, I have a respect for Western medicine. I do, but I have a complete understanding that it is unfinished, that it's
yeah,
one half of a picture,
yeah,
right? So, and to give you an example, speaking to mental health, not mental disability, but mental health. If someone is suffering from depression, right? If you have gotten to the point where depression is the name of the game for you, I
yeah,
fully understand. It is incredibly difficult to see outside of those symptoms. And taking something from a doctor to help you get outside of the symptoms should be okay. However, it should not stop there. Once you can see more clearly, that's when the work begins. That's when you start working on your shadow and working on your practices and becoming more connected to nature and changing your diet and all of these other pieces. And then once you get a stable base going over there, you can responsibly get off of the medication that was never intended to be a cure, but only intended to be a bridge between where you are and you feel helpless to where you're going, where you have total control. It should never be the like take a pill and feel better. However, the way medicine works in North America, at least in the United States, is profit. It's a for-profit business. They make a lot more money when you don't feel good, right? Let me give you
yeah.
a different pill. Let me give you a different pill. It drives me crazy when I hear the advertisements for medication and they're going through the list of side effects. And I'm like, what is this medication for that might give me cancer and might give me this and that? And oh, it's for fungus on my toe. Oh, okay. Like it blows my mind. And it's not because I don't believe in medicine, but I think medicine, Western medicine specifically, has gotten way out of bounds, way out of line. It's lost sight of what the goal should be. And we
Mhm.
need to be looking to more natural elements to bring into a more like functional role. Chinese medicine has been around literally forever,
Yeah.
and there's some great knowledge there. And if we
Oh
could
yeah.
find a way to take that and combine it with what we've learned in the West, we could really create something that is amazing. I mean, if we incorporated frequency healing, teaching meditation and breathing techniques with connecting someone to a passion, like teaching them how to garden or teaching them how to paint or teaching them how to do anything, right? Giving them something to focus on with renewed hope, that, while also feeding their body the nutrients that are missing, the vitamin D that almost certainly is missing, the vitamin B that is almost certainly deficient, the vitamin C that is almost always missing. If we can replenish these things in our bodies with natural diets and give them something to have, man, that is a cure. That is a cure, not a band-aid. And I just, I, with all of my heart, this is what I want to see happen, because there's value in Western medicine, but it's incomplete, and
Oh,
it's abused, and it's just treated badly, and it needs a facelift, like it needs
yeah.
new management, like there needs to be a title change or something.
I hear you. In fact, that's turned into a phrase that Archangel Michael taught me called pill mentality. It's
Yeah.
teaching the expectation of an immediate result, because it does not to say, and again, just like you, I agree with you, and I'm not a doctor or medical professional advising anything. I'm talking about my own experience, is that I've found for me, most of the time that I've utilized pills, they've been a cover. It's covering something, and so that I don't actually
Yes.
can't address the underlying issue, right?
Yes, correct. 100%. And from my own experience, I mean, for a very long time, I was diagnosed as clinically depressed, right?
Mhm.
And I was on a litany of medications from young age to my awakening, basically, till right before my awakening. And I I would feel things, but compared to how I feel them now, I understand how muted it was, right? Like it was like everything was sort of, all the color was drained out of everything. I didn't have any excitement or passion for anything, but I wasn't sad, and that was good enough, right?
Right.
And then as my awakening happened and I started to recognize that maybe the problem is me and not everything around me. And maybe if I could find a way to be happy, that I could actually be happy, because I would always say, well, when this happens, I'll be happy. When this happens, I'll be happy. When I make more money, I'll be happy. When I have a bigger house, I'll be happy. When I have a loving spouse, I'll be happy. When my kids are doing in school, I'll be happy. It's always a moving goalpost. And I
Yeah.
had the realization during my awakening experience that that goalpost is always going to move. It's always going to move. I have to go inside, right? And it's a whole big long story that I'm not going to get into, but once I started meditating, I went to my psychiatrist and I said, I don't.
There you are.
Here I am. There I am. I went to my psychiatrist and said, I don't want to be on medications anymore. And so she started to step me down off these medications. But additionally, I was learning how to meditate. I was learning yoga. I was going for walks outside. I was reading a ton about different spiritual practices. And by the time I got off of that medication, I did not notice that it was gone anymore, because I had so gradually come back into like this self, like a light slowly turning on, that it was a natural transition. Like I tell people all the time, my breakfast in the morning used to be a handful of pills
Yeah.
every single day. And now I have to take a thyroid pill because I had thyroid cancer. And if I don't take the pill, my body will die. So I do take a thyroid pill, but that's all I take every day. And for me, that is a miracle. That is a miracle.
Same. Yeah. I resonate so much with you. I have, I probably attempted to leave this place more times than anyone I've ever met. I was a trafficked kid, and people didn't even know I existed till I was 14 in the world. Like all of my 10 siblings all got consecutive birth or social security cards, because we didn't exist before the same moment in time. And I'm only bringing that up because I had CPTSD, I had chronic depression, I was, based on the evidence in front of a person to look at my past, am somebody that would have been slated to spend the entirety of the remainder of my life in high lockdown facilities, to keep me from hurting myself, kind of thing. And what I did is what we talk about. I do meditations. I was on medication. I was highly medicated, just like you, and I found that I didn't have any kind of bumps, and I liked having sadness and happiness. I liked experiencing it, and so what I ended up doing when I was 23 is I just stopped all of my pills, and I do not suggest that you do that. All of it, all in one go. I'd also been diagnosed with Tourette's because I channel, and when I do, I just abruptly, it just kind of like almost vomits from me sometimes,
Mhm.
you know, and I don't know where. It's never been the swear words you see on the daytime talk shows or anything, but they had me on some pretty strong tranquilizers to stop the channeling, and all kinds of stuff. And I got off of all of it, and within a month, I I started to find gardening. Actually, that's a way to meditate. And when I was doing this, see, I've always been able to see people's energy. And I'm just going to add this because this is something I have proof for, but I can't show it to anyone. You know what I mean? Is that we really rub off on people. Our energy, just like, those food handler permit kind of classes, videos where you see, like, if you don't wash your hands or the hand's orange and it
Oh,
touches
yeah,
everything, and
absolutely.
right? That's how our energy does for everybody around you. And so as we evolve ourselves and assist ourselves, what we're actually doing is improving your neighbors and their neighbors. And because I could see that, I had motivation to do personal healing because I was able to see it was helping somebody else. I'm not that person that thinks of me first, you know what I mean? And that helped
Right.
me. So maybe that'll help y'all. If you're,
Yeah.
because then all of a sudden the neighbors started getting out of bed too. They started to garden. They started to, it works.
Never
Mhm.
underestimate the power of simply allowing yourself to be who you actually are,
Yes.
because there are more people watching you than you think there are. And I have people, all the time who book a session with me, and I'll get into the session and they'll say something like, it was because of your videos that I finally decided I'm going to try meditation, or it's because of your videos, this, and this. And it's a really wonderful feeling, but it was never the intention of that video, right? Like made my first Schumann video, the intention was to make sure I wasn't insane. Like, I was like, if I'm seeing this, somebody else is seeing this, right? Like, let me
Mhm.
just ask. I had zero intention of any of this happening, but because I came from an open and loving position, one of acceptance, and let's just see what happens, I don't need to control it, it has turned itself into one of the most incredible experiences of my life outside of having my children. Like, my life today versus before my awakening is unrecognizable. So
Yeah.
much so that I physically look different, even though I haven't changed a thing, right? And this happens, right? This is a true story. I was at like a gathering for some friends, and there were people that I used to work with there. These are people that I worked with at the university for 5 years. Every single day, I saw these people. Every day, I saw these people, okay, for 5 years. I'm at this place and I'm standing across from one of them, and I can see that he keeps looking at me and then looking away. And then he looked and looked away, and then he looked and looked away. And in my head, I'm going, he does not recognize me. And the look on his face. So I walked over there and I go, "Hey man, how's it going?" And I said his name, and he's just looking at me and he's acting, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Da, 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 da. And maybe 10 seconds in, he got that look on his face and he was like, "Oh my God, it's Erin." And I'm like, "Yeah, man." And he's like, "I don't know why I didn't recognize you." He's like, did you color your hair?" And I'm like, "No." Like, he could not pinpoint what was different, but it was clearly different to him. And that's frequency. That's a difference in frequency. I am broadcasting a different frequency. So I look different to people who haven't been along with me as I've kind of changed, and this happens all the time. You'll be having a conversation with someone that you used to talk to all the time. And then halfway through the conversation, you're like, are we even talking about the same thing? Frequency, frequency, frequency. Everything is frequency.
Yeah, totally. And I've had the same experience. That's cool that you see that. And as you do that, you can also, this is something that the most common question I've been getting the past few weeks. So there might be more people experiencing this. We'll also notice that we'll fluctuate like this sometimes. Like that's kind of how it works. We don't ascend straight up. I don't,
Oh,
I've not,
no.
there's always a crash for a little bit, a little bump,
Well,
right?
so this is how I understand frequency as far as it pertains to the human body, right? If a frequency is going too fast, whatever it is that's vibrating that fast eventually turns to liquid, then vapor, then gas, right? So the human body can only go so high as far as a frequency. So you have a bandwidth, right? And that bandwidth can move this way a little bit and this way a little bit. Things down here are moving slower and are heavier and denser. Things moving up here are faster, moving, more exciting, that kind of thing, right? And there's a whole spectrum. But your human body, let's say this is you, right? This is your bandwidth. If you're having a great day, you're feeling super connected, you tend to shift this way, right? And so you pick up more and more and more on this. If you're having a crummy day or you get around whoever and it just ruins your day, then you shift this way. And so this becomes more pervasive, but you're always staying in this range. When you go through moments of upgrading your frequency, what that's doing is just spreading this just a tiny bit so that your perception is a little bit bigger than it was before. And you can't go like this because then you'll be liquid, right? So you're just incrementally going this way, but that incremental thing, that size is huge when it comes to something the size of a frequency, right? So now not only can you perceive a little bit more on this end, you can also perceive a little bit more on this end. So sometimes that means you become more sensitive to collective energies, and collective energies these days, not super fun, right? So maybe you start going to Walmart and hating life and you're not going to go to Walmart anymore. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind. This universe is built on duality. You cannot expand in one direction without also expanding in the other direction. That would not be balance. We have to have balance. So sometimes that also means that those deeper triggers that you've been putting off dealing with suddenly get brought to the surface because you've opened up that bandwidth and here it comes up to the surface. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I've totally, and while you're doing that, you're you're still utilizing free will. So you're still,
Yes.
you decide. And like one of the things that I've learned to do, and I don't know about anybody else. I was taught, it was an early conditioning kind of thing, that if you try to make yourself happy, then you're covering up sadness. And there's like sometimes that can be true. Sometimes there's like you're putting on the fake face kind of thing. But for me, if I'm finding myself in this lower energy, first of all, I lean into that emotion because emotion is energy in motion. It's meant to continue on. I'm not going to jump in the river and grab that slip and say, that's mine. I'm going to let it float down the river. And then I choose. It's always about choice. Manifestation is choice. I'm choosing the reality that I'm going to exist in. And so I choose to get excited. That's what is easiest for me to do. And I don't usually have anything that I'm excited about that I'm assigning to it. I'm just like, oh, I'm so excited. And then I'll turn on some kind of old music from my childhood and be silly around the house. I don't care how I look, kind of dancing. And all of a sudden, I'm better. All of a sudden now I can't even remember what it felt like to be over there 5 minutes ago.
Right. Because you moved on your scale a little bit. You shifted your frequency this way. So the things that were heavy down here are no longer ringing the bell in your frequency up here. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So should we tell everyone about the retreat before
Yes,
we go?
I am super excited. I know a lot of you have heard us talk about this already. There's a whole bunch of information that's also in the description of this video. If you want to look into the description, you'll see the link to it. But on June 19th, 20th, and 21st, we are having a retreat. It's a Crystal Mountain retreat. It's at this really amazing sacred site. I highlighted some of the images of it on my Sunday show for those of you that want to go back and look at that video at the beginning of the show. It's 3 days and nights of around the fire channeling and daily yoga sessions. And Erin's going to be there. Erin here is going to be a vendor. And you know what? I actually can't remember exactly what you had said you were going to offer. So would you tell them?
Yeah, so I work best through inspired conversation. So I like to call it like a Socratic, right? So we sit around and you just start talking, just start asking your questions, and kind of how this conversation went today. My channel comes in and out and brings all kinds of information, and you might be surprised at what comes through depending on the questions that you ask. So it's not necessarily asking personal, is this for me? Is my life whatever? It's more like, can you explain to me what's the difference between 3D and 5D? I feel confused about that. My channel engages and I start talking, and it spurs off these very lively and engaged conversations where so much knowledge happens. And it also raises the collective frequency of everyone who is sitting there. So everyone gets into this vibrational state. And every single time I've had people walk away say, oh my gosh, I had like a vibrational high for like an hour after that was over. It's just because everybody's pooling frequencies, and it's such a fun experience. I will have my cards, and there may be an opportunity if someone wanted to get a reading or two that we could work that out, but we'll see how it goes. I don't want to take time away from anything else, so we'll see. But that's the main thing, is it's like a Socratic gathering of the frequencies.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's kind of how I see it going too. I mean, we're doing late start stuff, so we're the kind of people, my daughter and I are the kind of people that we don't really people well before noon. So that's kind of the vibe of it. Layla Wind is going to be offering the sacred morning yoga. The sacred solstice yoga is how she's calling it, and because this is for the solstice, this is actually a really big deal, this particular
Oh
solstice.
yeah, it is such a great time to be doing it on top of a mountain full of quartz. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
and where we are, the specific site will be on, they only rent that site to monks and spiritual retreat type groups because it is a sacred site.
So excited about this. So
Yeah.
beyond excited. And it's a limited amount of tickets because it's a pretty small retreat. You guys are keeping it in a way to keep it nice and intimate. Everyone gets to come together and share. And it's really a great opportunity to get to know people, to expand your circle, to talk about the things that you don't feel like you can talk about with normal people, like come hang out with us. And man, I am looking forward to like some sort of midnight drum circle, fire circle, wild hair, something. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm bringing drums. I'm bringing a bunch of drums. We're going to do sound healing around the fire. I'm also doing daily group meditations that I channel. We're also going to go, and so this is all included in the ticket. You don't have to pay any fees or anything for these, but we're going to go to, there's a local mine where you get quartz crystals like this really easily. Like they're all over these size. Then we're also going to be going just down the road from there to a diamond mine. It's the only diamond mine in the country. And so you get to keep everything that you find. So,
Man.
and that's included in the ticket. There's also going to be a couple other ventures out. Like there's this, it's really well known for the sacred waters of the ancient aquifers that come up. And it's all on this quartz bedrock. So it's really amazing water. And so you can, if you're driving or whatever, I would encourage you bring buckets or containers because you can take that water home with you,
Amazing.
and for the rock hounds, there's something else too. There's another place that we're going that's like people, it's a ranger station, but you go there and the rangers are like so glad for you to get rid of these stones because people trip over them. And they're these, I'm going to show one example, but they're really big, some of them really, really big. This is like a small one. This is this is
Wow.
milky quartz crystal, excuse me, um, clear quartz is mixed in there as well with copper and obsidian. So
Wow.
this makes up a natural forming organite. So this, and
Nice.
an organite is an energy purifier, like you would purify your air. And so I'm telling people uh if they're into like a rock hounding kind of thing, bring an extra suitcase because it's going to be, yeah, amazing. The link is in the description of the video. Thank you for asking, Mary. Don't
Also,
have it readily available.
just want to add real quick. Sorry, pause. I just want to add real quick. It's also on my website. So if you forget where it is, but you can remember my name, you can find the link. So if you go to consciouslyerin.com, there's a button that says tools for transformation. It's in there, right? So even if you can't remember what Mila said, if you can remember my name, you can find the link.
Awesome. Thank you. And I also have an advertisement in our in the YouTube channel here too. If you go down a little bit,
Oh,
I'm really
awesome.
looking forward to it, and we will advertise it more. We're super duper excited about it. This is one of the things that you only ever wish to do, and you end up thinking, well, one day. Well, and we've made it affordable enough for people to be able to come. I did some price comparisons, and if something that's similar to what we're offering is usually between $1,500 and $3,000, and we're
Oh,
just
yeah,
offering it for
because
5 by 5
meals are included, right?
dinner meals and snacks throughout. You're going to get like a welcome package. My daughter's busy making crystal jewelry for everybody. There's all kinds of amazing, and just being on that land in general, it is an amazing offering. But there's also rooms that are beds that we can rent. There's kind of like almost like a camp setup there. When you go to wait for camp when you're a kid, that kind of an idea. So you'd rent a bunk or a bed, you know what I mean? So
Nice.
anyway, it's really exciting, and it's going to be for that whole time. The solstice actually happens at like 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, and we're going to be doing a ceremony Saturday night into Sunday as it occurs around the fire as well. And so it's going to be really super powerful gathering. I'm glad I'm going to be there. Oh, and
Oh,
one
me
last
too.
part about it too is the vein of quartz that runs across this specific land that the houses are on, and where the fire pit is and everything. You can actually see the quartz like popping up. The bedrock it's right on top of where these structures are and stuff. So
So cool.
yeah,
So cool. So cool. Well, awesome.
yeah,
So make sure you guys get your tickets if that's something you want to do.
yeah. I'm really excited. It's gonna be fun to have you come visit us and be a part of that.
I am very excited, beyond excited.
Well, thank you so much for this awesome conversation. There was a question that I didn't have you on. Do you mind one more question?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I had it lit. I forgot it okay, it says, Mary wanted to know, do you think the animals know what's going on with the Schumann resonance?
So, yes, but I think they're aware of the energetic shifts in the earth, but I don't think they have a clue what the Schumann resonances are. You know what I mean? So I think they're very aware of energetic fields. Anyone who has a cat or a horse can tell you that. Like, it's in some animals, I think it's more pronounced than in other animals, but absolutely. I think they're very well aware. And I think sometimes when we see on the Schumann a demonstration of a lot of energy, our animals can act a little funky, as a sort of reflection of that. So yes and no. I don't know that they know what the Schumann is, but they definitely, I have zero doubt whatsoever, are very aware of what's going on with Earth's magnetic field. I mean, think about whiskers. I mean, it's all related to this stuff. So just logically, I would say absolutely. I don't get to talk to animals. I would love to be a psychic for animals. I think it would be the most fun conversations ever, but they don't talk to me. So, but that's my assumption.
That would be fun to talk to them. I totally agree. Yeah. Thank you for answering that. And just, I need to do a quick announcement that on Friday at 1 p.m., Guardian and I are doing a private Zoom that's free, that everybody's invited to join us. He's going to be channeling his Syrian guides, the Tehute. So you can ask questions. And it's really a fun gathering. It's not aired live. So it's one of those, you join the Zoom meeting and just be there as a participant, and it doesn't cost you anything. So that's to ring in the equinox. And by the way, the next day, peace, unity, respect, love, all of the world are chanting at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, or CDT now, I guess, at the same time throughout the planet. So Pacific time zone, that's going to be 10 a.m. You know, everyone for 5 minutes all over the planet are doing this. So if you do have the ability, Saturday morning or afternoon, whatever your time zone is, 12 p.m. for me, chanting peace, unity, respect, love for 5 minutes, or whatever it is that you're drawing this planet that we're residing on into, because we're ushering away the insanity, I guess, and bringing forward the equality and the love and new earth. So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
Sounds great. Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me. And everybody, it's a great day. Don't forget.